Okay, so here we are, and we're going to take an old book and we're going to work with it. And I've shown you some photographs of gluing down the front. So this is the spine on this book is not the strongest, and because of that, I will probably do the cover fairly quick. It's a thin book. Not all altered books are thin. Here's another one that I'm just now working on. I haven't, most of the pages have to come out, but it's a demo book for my live online classes. Okay, so let me raise this up just a tiny bit. All right, so what I've done already in this book is I've opened it up, and the front cover I glued down 5 pages up to the first center of the signature, the first signature. And I thought I was recording, and I was, excuse me, I was only taking pictures. Okay, so that happens. It's a Sunday morning, and maybe I'm not fully awake. I don't know. And then I went on talking, and I laid that in here to show you a couple of other things. And when I came back and took this off, of course, what's happened is it's wrinkled, and some of the acrylic paint adhered. And so what I explained previously that I'm going to explain to you is when you get crinkles like this in an altered book, we don't worry about them so much. We would rather not have them, but when stuff like this happens, you don't get so precious about it that you think it's ruined, because it isn't. What this does is it's going to add some cool texture to this page or this spread, whatever we end up doing here. And as for the paint, it's going to get covered up anyways. Things get covered up because we work in layers in our altered journals. But what we always do is we glue down 3 to 5 pages to the cover, and then I went around. I'm going to demonstrate this at the back because I haven't done that yet, to secure the text to the cover. All right. And now I'm going to do that to the back. I'm going to come here to the back, and you can see that the back cover is splitting. So this is a really fragile book, which is a little disappointing. So before I even glue down, I'm going to go ahead and reinforce this just a little bit with some of my artist tape, because I feel I don't like that it's already splitting. So I'm going to just stick that in there as far as I can. Okay, and then just tape that down. So it's just reinforcing. Now this is going to get glued down under the pages, but it's just a little added support to strengthen that seam from splitting more. And I can go even farther, and I could add another piece so that it is on this side too, especially where the main split was. Okay. Doing this kind of stuff is just caring for your book and making sure it's in a good place before you even start working with it, because these get strained. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to glue the dust jacket, or not, it's not a dust jacket, but the inside cover. And these pages are fairly sturdy. They're not crumbling, which is really, we're really lucky about that. But I'm going to glue that page down. And I'm going to glue this page down. So I'm going to glue just the index pages. So, and that page. So I'm only going to glue 3 pages down. So let me demonstrate that for you. So you're taking your Mod Podge, okay, and you want it nice and thick, and you always get that seam for this part nice and coated. The thing about Mod Podge is you don't want to just do light coatings when you're gluing together the pages, because you want it to stick. You want to make sure you go all the way to the corners. can be a little lighter in this area, but you do want to make sure that you get the corners and the outer pages nice. And then we're going to just close the book. You can see how the Mod Podge is coming through, but that's okay because that'll help glue that down. And we're just going to rub it together. Now, the reason why we do that instead of smush it all out is because this helps to get out any air bubbles. Okay, then you can come in and just give it a nice rub down. All right, here we go. So I've already done this to the front, so I'm doing this to the back, like I said. So let's get this done. See how I'm not worried about going to the very corner of the back cover? That helps really secure these pages to that cover. Again, let's close the book. I make messes. I don't worry about those messes because that's part of the creative process. If you're worried about it, I would suggest wearing gloves. And that's perfectly okay to wear gloves while you create. Okay, now we're going to come in and do one more page. This is a rather thin book, but I'm doing this for a project, a grant project that will involve some city libraries. And okay, so there we go. Where do you find old books? Well, the easiest place to find it is to go to libraries. They often are selling old books like this for about $1, sometimes up to $5. And you go and pick them up. And the same thing, go around to your Goodwill stores or even look on your own bookshelves. Okay, so you can see we're at the center of a signature now. And we'll stop there. So I'm going to do the same thing back here. I don't care if the paint gets on it, but if you're worried about it, just fold it so that there's no paint and lay it in there. It'll peel off. You'll see in just a second. Okay, so at this point, we now have a front cover prepared, and we have the back cover that we just did. And now let's talk about what we do with the inside. All right, so before you begin to work, what you do is, or what I do is I go through and I identify where all my signatures are. I'm going to bring in a different book because this one's so tall, but you can see I go in and I mark with my little strips of paper wherever I have a signature. And the center of every signature, you can see the threads. Sometimes you have to really bend the book back. Be gentle. Don't crack it open. Just pull back so that you can see it. Okay? And go through and mark where all of your signature centers are, because then what's going to happen is before you really do start anything, you want to go to each signature and you want to remove at least one page. So here's a signature, and you can see the threads, and now I want to remove this page. So what I'm going to do is take it by the hand on either side, and I'm going to gently pull to the left, And you can see how easily the page tears. And you just do that until you get it out. And then you put it in your stash. This becomes a stash. You've got focal points to use. You've got ephemera to use. You've got a lot of different things to use as backgrounds for future projects. I don't use religious pictures for my backgrounds to paint over, to collage over. I do consider that a little disrespectful. So those will go into a special folder, and when I have students who want to create a religious picture, I bring that out and they can choose from it. All right, so this is now done. So you go through and you do that everywhere, because in a book, we want to pull out the center of every signature, except if we finish gluing our back pages and our front pages, and it takes us to the center of a signature. That you leave alone. Okay, that you leave alone. So once I've gone through and I pulled out, I just put a marker like that. I switch it to the bottom until I go through all of them once. All right, so here's another one. So I'm going to just demonstrate one more time for you how easy it is. Get the 2 pages, gently pull to the left. Yes, you could probably pull to the right. I just have a tendency to first pull to the left and gently remove it. This becomes stash pile. And here we are into the center of the new signature. So let's say I'm ready to work. I've gone through and I've removed all those signatures. So if you've got 20 signatures, you have removed 22 page spreads. Some old books will have tissue paper, just paste it in. You just gently pull it up. Some old books will have pictures that are glued in. You just pull them up and remove them. Those all become stash pile and for background ephemera, and also into your folder for focal points. Now we're ready. I want to start working on this. So usually what we do is we find the center of a signature, and we are going to now glue together 2 to 3 pages, depending on the thickness and the fragility of the pages. There's still quite a lot of pages in this book. Even when I get through pulling out the rest of the signatures, I haven't done the ones back here yet. So it's not enough, because we have to get rid of at least half the pages of the book. You only end up with about 9 to 11, 12 spreads, because to make a altered book too thick, it puts too much stress. Here's a finished one, and you can see it's only 9 pages. But altered books do not lay flat, nor do you want to force them to lay flat. All right, that will break them. That'll break the pages, it'll break the spine. So this one only has, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pages in it, 9 spreads in it. So you can see, and it was about the same size as this. Here's a larger book. Okay, I pulled out many pages. This is going to end up with about 14 spreads. I still have some pages that I have to pull out. And sometimes I get to a point where I come in and I've already glued some of the pages thinking I'm going to do that, and then I end up gluing them together to bring it down even more. Okay, so sometimes you have to do that, because look at how thick this one is. It's almost done. I have about 4 more pages to complete. It'll never lay flat, of course, and it's going to pop up open just a little bit more. But look at the strain it puts on the binding. So you want to be very careful about that. All right? You want to be very careful. All right, and then I think I already showed you one that this is the one that I use in a current live class that I'm demoing in. So here's the front cover. This is 3 pages were glued down, just like in this one. And then here's the first signature spread. And I did 2 individual pages here. And then, of course, then you move forward and you do, this is called a 2-page spread, right? So you don't, not everything has to be a 2-page spread. And that's something to really think about. You can have individual pages. It all works. All right, so let's get this ready. Let's say I want to do a 2-page spread, and now I need to get my pages ready. So you go to the center of the signature, and you're going to glue together at least 2 pages up to 3. I am going to glue together 3 pages, and I'll tell you why. Here's the center of my signature. That's the end of my signature. This is the beginning of a new signature. The best way of keeping things strong is to always glue together signatures, okay? So you can see that would be 3 pages. Center of a signature, 2 signatures put together. And when you do the pages, it's just like the back. You don't have to use as much glue. You don't want to overly saturate the center, because what will happen is it will seep through onto other pages. And if you have completed pages, that glue can seep through onto them. Bind it together, and when you open them up again, it will pull the paint apart. And I'll show you what I mean by that in another book. Oh shoot, I didn't mark that. So now I'm going to have to hunt for that. Here it is. Yeah, that's it. Let me get to it. I often forget to mark my things. Then don't do that, because sometimes you cannot find, there's the center of the signature. Sometimes you cannot find. So always mark your pages. Okay, so I was going to show you what happens when you glue pages together and the glue is too thick, and then what happens is when you open it up, it pulls apart, and it affects a completed spread. But you know what? That's okay too, because what it does is it puts a grunge on the page, the spread, and it doesn't ruin it. Don't think of it as ruining it. Think of it as adding character and age. It makes it look all the more distressed and old, which this is an old book, an old book that you're working with, and you don't want everything to look brand new. You do want to distress things and make them look aged. Okay, now I'm gonna glue together my next page, so that I've got 3, and at this point I am gluing together 2 signatures, which really adds a lot of strength. Okay, same thing. I'm going to close the book, smooth it. Boy, that's really distressed right there. That's bothering me, so I'm going to just give it some glue right now, just to reinforce it until I can get a cover done on it. Okay. All right, so now let's go to that page. Now I have 3 pages glued together. Makes them nice and strong. And so now what I would do is I would do the same on this side. If I'm just doing, because I'm just doing a spread, a 2-page spread, or 2 single pages, or a 2-page spread, right? Okay. Don't go through and pre-glue all your pages, because some pages call for your opening page, and then you go back and maybe you need to only glue 2 pages, and then you need a single page because we're going to do something with that middle section. Some projects can take up to 4 2-page spreads, 6 pages, meaning 3 2-page you know, parts. Okay, so here's my first pages glued together. And most are going to be just 2 pages like what I'm demonstrating right now. When I'm done gluing, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come and I'm going to put a line of Mod Podge on the back of this book. All right. So there's that one. Now I'm going to go ahead and glue one more. One more. Don't get distressed also that I am gluing together wonderful old illustrations. I've worked with books of poetry, different books of art, and the key is you know what's inside of that book that you are altering. Remember, you are repurposing an old book, and if it's already an art book of some sort, you are contributing to a foundation, and it becomes a layered book of art, and that to me is really kind of cool. Okay, so there we have it. Now, once these completely dry, you let it completely dry, we can work on this right here. So I'm going to put this like that because I know that's where I'm going to work. Do we worry about having pages, the Mod Podge, connect to other pages? Well, not really, because when you get there, if there was a little glue together, you're just gonna slip your finger, or you're gonna take your bone and you're just gonna kind of separate the pages. It happens all the time. All right, so let's go back to the back page, see how it's drying. And we're gonna just wait for that to dry. We're gonna wait for the front, which it's almost dry. In fact, it is dry. We're going to wait for that to dry. We're going to wait for our center pages to dry. I'm going to put a line of glue here. And that, my friends, is how you prepare an old book to turn it into an altered book. This is how you repurpose old books. And have fun, but let it all dry now. Now is the time to just let it all dry. All right. So thank you for joining me. And I look forward to seeing you on the drawing board again. Take care. Bye.